Dog won't stop barking at a strange suitcase in a crowded elevator. What police found inside was shocking. The elevator's fluorescent lights flickered as Sarah Collins watched the numbers climb. 28, 29. Her partner Max, a Belgian Malinois with keen amber eyes, sat perfectly still at her side, his disciplined posture a stark contrast to the fidgeting crowd of office workers around them. Just another routine security sweep of the Peachtree Plaza, one of countless high-rises dotting Atlanta's skyline. The morning sun glinted off neighboring buildings, casting sharp shadows through the glass walls of the elevator. That's when everything changed. Max's ears suddenly pricked forward, his body tensing beneath the tactical K9 vest. Sarah felt the subtle shift through his leash. 5 years of partnership had taught her to read his signals like a second language. She remembered their first day together at the K9 training facility, how even then there had been something special about their connection. Now, every slight movement, every change in his breathing carried meaning. The elevator dinged at floor 32, and as the doors slid open, Max's attention locked onto a designer suitcase propped against the back wall. It was a Rimowa, Sarah noted automatically, the kind that cost more than her monthly salary. The polished aluminum surface reflected the overhead lights, making it seem almost ethereal in the confined space. "Excuse me, whose bag is this?" Sarah asked, her trained eyes scanning the faces of the 6 passengers crowded into the space. A young woman in a pencil skirt tapped away at her phone, barely looking up. 2 men in matching corporate attire shifted uncomfortably, while an elderly gentleman with a briefcase pressed himself further into the corner. They exchanged glances, shrugs. No one moved to claim it. Max's low growl cut through the elevator's hum, not his usual alert bark. This was different, urgent. Sarah had only heard this sound twice before in their career together, and both times had led them to something deadly. The first had been a hidden cache of explosives in an abandoned warehouse. The second, she pushed the memory away. Now wasn't the time. "Everyone needs to exit the elevator. Now." Her voice carried the authority of her badge, but a businessman in an expensive suit pushed forward instead, his cologne mixing with the recycled air of the elevator. "Officer, I have a meeting in 3 minutes. Can't you just move the bag and let us continue? This is the Peachtree Plaza, not some back alley building." Max's growl deepened, his eyes never leaving the suitcase. Sarah's hand instinctively moved to her radio, thumbing the familiar button. "This is Officer Collins, K9 unit. I need backup on 32, possible suspicious package. Clear the floor, establish a perimeter." "Oh, come on." A woman in designer heels threw up her hands, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "It's probably just someone's luggage. This is ridiculous. I have a client waiting." But Sarah knew better. Max's behavior wasn't just alert, it was urgent, almost desperate. Their countless training hours, their shared experiences in the field, every instinct honed through years of partnership, told her this was different, this was real. She thought of their last certification course, how the instructor had praised their unprecedented synchronization. "Some partnerships are built," he'd said, "but yours was born. Ma'am, I understand your frustration, but when my partner reacts like this, there's always a reason." Sarah's voice remained steady, professional, even as her pulse quickened. Sweat beaded at the back of her neck, but her hands stayed rock steady. "Please exit the elevator immediately. Building security will direct you to alternate routes." As she herded the reluctant passengers out, Sarah caught a whiff of something chemical, almost sweet, emanating from the suitcase. Her mind raced through possibilities, drugs, explosives, biological agents, but Max's reaction didn't fit any of their usual training scenarios. This was something else entirely. His muscles were coiled tight, but he maintained his position, years of training warring with what seemed like an instinctive urge to advance. The elevator lobby cleared, except for Sarah, Max, and that innocent-looking suitcase that had triggered such an intense response. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the marble floor. She radioed again, requesting the bomb squad, hazmat, whoever could help identify what was setting Max off. But deep down, she already knew this case would be different. There was something personal in Max's reaction, something that went beyond their training. As she secured the scene, positioning Max at the optimal distance according to protocol, her phone buzzed with a notification. An alert she'd set up weeks ago about a string of mysterious disappearances in downtown Atlanta. 3 people had vanished without a trace, all from busy office buildings, all during broad daylight. The latest victim, Jennifer Chen, had last been seen entering this very building, carrying a designer suitcase exactly like the one before her. Sarah's mind flashed to the case file she'd been reviewing off duty. The disappearances had seemed random at first. A corporate lawyer, a hotel manager, a graduate student. But standing here now, watching Max's unwavering focus on the suitcase, pieces began clicking into place. The high-end locations, the timing, the lack of witnesses despite the crowded buildings. Max's eyes met hers, and in that moment, Sarah realized their routine patrol had just become something much bigger. Whatever was in that suitcase, it was just the beginning. And as backup raced toward their location, sirens wailing in the distance, one thought crystallized in her mind. She and Max might have just stumbled onto the case of their lives. The question was, were they ready for where it would lead them? Through the window, storm clouds gathered on the horizon, casting a shadow over the Atlanta skyline. Sarah checked her watch. 9:47 a.m. In exactly 12 minutes, the bomb squad would arrive. The floor would be evacuated and their investigation would officially begin. But as she stood there, hand resting on Max's shoulder, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment, this seemingly routine elevator stop, would change everything. Max let out another low whine, softer this time, almost questioning. Sarah squeezed his shoulder gently. "I know, buddy," she whispered. "I feel it too." They'd faced dangerous situations before, but something about this was different. This wasn't just about a suspicious package anymore. This was about solving a puzzle that had been waiting for them all along. The elevator doors finally closed with a soft ding, sealing them in with their discovery. The storm outside grew closer, thunder rolling in the distance. Sarah and Max stood their ground, partners until the end, as the shadow of what they'd discovered loomed before them, promising to test their bond in ways they'd never imagined. The hazmat team's yellow suits cast eerie reflections on the polished elevator walls as they carefully examined the designer suitcase. Sarah stood back, one hand resting on Max's head, both of them watching intently. Her mind drifted to another day, 3 years earlier, when she'd first learned to trust Max's instincts completely. It had been raining then too. 3 years earlier. "He's not ready," Lieutenant Richards declared, his voice cutting through the downpour at the Atlanta Police K9 Training Center. "Collins, your dog's too intense. He's not following standard protocols." Sarah stood at attention, rain soaking through her uniform, while Max sat perfectly still beside her despite the weather. She knew what they looked like, the rookie K9 handler and the washout Belgian Malinois that no other trainer had wanted to work with. Max had been labeled too aggressive by 2 previous handlers, but Sarah had seen something different in those amber eyes. Not aggression, but determination. "Sir, with respect, Max isn't failing to follow protocols. He's seeing things we're not." Her voice remained steady, even as her career hung by a thread. "If you'll let me demonstrate." "Demonstrate?" Richard scoffed, gesturing to the training course before them. "Collins, he just ignored every standard search pattern in the book. K9s need to be predictable, reliable. This isn't some Hollywood movie where the maverick cop—" A crack of thunder cut him off, and Max suddenly tensed, his attention snapping to the abandoned warehouse they'd been using for training exercises. Sarah felt the change through the leash, not aggression, not fear, but that same urgent focus she'd come to recognize. "Sir," she interrupted, "something's wrong." Before Richards could respond, Max pulled forward, leading Sarah toward the warehouse's side entrance. The training scenario they'd set up was in the main room, but Max headed for the building's abandoned office section. Richards followed, muttering about protocol violations. The warehouse had been empty for months, used only for police training, but as they approached the office area, Sarah caught a whiff of something out of place. Cigarette smoke, fresh and sharp under the smell of rain. Max stopped at a closed door, his posture rigid. Sarah recognized his alert stance, not the trained response they'd practiced, but something more primal. She drew her weapon, ignoring Richard's start of surprise. "Atlanta PD," she called out. "Come out with your hands up!" The door burst open, and two figures bolted past them. Max reacted instantly, taking down the first runner while Sarah tackled the second. As Richards called for backup, Sarah discovered why they'd been hiding there. Bags of stolen pharmaceuticals from a recent hospital heist, a case that hadn't even been connected to this area yet. That day had changed everything. Max's unorthodox approach had cracked a case no one knew was there, and Sarah's trust in her partner had been vindicated. Richards had become their strongest supporter, advocating for their unique approach to K9 work. Present day. "Officer Collins," Sarah snapped back to the present. The hazmat team leader stood before her, his face shield fogged with condensation. "We're not detecting any explosive material or known chemical agents, but..." He hesitated, glancing at Max, who remained focused on the suitcase. "There's something odd about the air composition around the bag, trace elements we can't identify." Sarah nodded, her hand still resting on Max's head. The same certainty she'd felt 3 years ago in the rain surfaced now. "What about biological materials? Nothing active showing up on our meters, but..." The team leader was interrupted by a commotion at the elevator lobby's entrance. Detective Marcus Chen pushed through the gathered emergency responders, his face tight with tension. "Collins, tell me it's not the same type of suitcase." Sarah met his eyes, understanding the weight behind his question. Jennifer Chen, the detective's sister, had been carrying an identical Rimowa when she disappeared 3 weeks ago. She'd been the third victim. "It is," Sarah confirmed. Max reacted to it immediately, different from any alert I've seen before. The Chen ran a hand through his graying hair. "The other families, they all mentioned luggage, high-end stuff like this. We thought it was just coincidence, rich people getting targeted, but..." He trailed off, staring at the suitcase. Sarah felt the pieces shifting in her mind. The chemical trace, the identical luggage, the targeting of specific buildings. She turned to Max, who hadn't moved, hadn't wavered in his vigilance. "What are you trying to tell me, buddy?" As if in response, Max let out a soft whine, different from his earlier alert. Sarah had heard this sound before too, during their first year together, when they'd found that missing child in the abandoned subway tunnel. Not a warning of danger, but a signal of urgency, of life. "We need to open it," she declared, straightening up. "Now," the hazmat leader shook his head. "Protocol requires we move it to a secure facility first. If there's an unknown chemical agent, there's someone in there." The certainty in Sarah's voice cut through the protests. "That's what Max is telling us. And if I'm right, we don't have time for protocols." Detective Chen stepped forward, his badge catching the fluorescent light. "I'll take responsibility. Open it." The next few moments moved in slow motion. The hazmat team carefully approached the suitcase, their instruments sweeping for any last-second warnings. Max's whine grew slightly higher in pitch, but he held his position, years of training warring with instinct. Sarah watched as they found the latches, as they prepared to breach the seal. Her mind flashed through every training scenario, every real-world situation she and Max had faced. None of them had prepared her for this moment. The latches clicked open, and the lid lifted slowly, releasing a faint hiss of pressurized air. Sarah heard the hazmat team's sharp intake of breath before she could see inside. Then she stepped forward, and the full horror of what they'd discovered became clear. The suitcase had been modified, turned into something out of a nightmare. Compressed air systems, chemical scrubbers, and in the center, curled in an impossible space, lay an unconscious woman. She was alive, but barely, her skin pale and her breathing shallow. "Get medical up here now!" Sarah barked, even as Chen rushed forward with a strangled cry of recognition. "Jenny! Oh God, Jenny!" As the elevator lobby erupted into controlled chaos, Sarah knelt beside Max, wrapping her arms around his solid frame. "Good boy," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You found her. You found her." But even as medical teams rushed in and Jennifer Chen was carefully extracted from her high-tech prison, Sarah's mind was racing ahead. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Someone had engineered these suitcases, had turned luxury luggage into transport pods for human cargo. Someone with resources, with technical knowledge, with a network capable of operating in Atlanta's busiest buildings. Max's ears perked forward again, his body tensing slightly. Sarah followed his gaze to the window, where the storm clouds had grown darker over the city skyline. Somewhere out there, more suitcases were waiting to be found. More victims needed their help. She pulled out her phone and began typing a message to Lieutenant Richards. They would need full resources for this, everything the department could spare, because now they knew this wasn't just a series of disappearances. This was something far more sophisticated, far more terrifying, and only Max could find them. Sarah sat in the harsh fluorescent light of the precinct's conference room, surrounded by case files and coffee cups. On the wall-mounted screens, photos of Jennifer Chen's modified suitcase competed for space, with medical readouts and chemical analysis reports. Max lay at her feet, but his ears remained alert, as if he could sense her growing unease. "The engineering on this thing is unprecedented," tech specialist Rivera said, manipulating the 3D model on the main screen. "Custom air filtration, CO2 scrubbers, vital sign monitors. Whoever built this wasn't just trying to transport someone. They were trying to keep them alive." Detective Chen, dark circles under his eyes, leaned forward. "Jenny's still sedated, but the doctors say she'll make a full recovery. She was in that thing for nearly 6 hours before—" His voice cracked slightly. "Before your dog found her, Collins." Sarah absently scratched behind Max's ears, her mind racing through the implications. 6 hours. That means they were planning to move her somewhere else. The Peachtree Plaza was just a waypoint. Lieutenant Richards cleared his throat. "We've got a bigger problem. TSA just flagged this." He tapped his tablet, and a new image appeared on screen. Security footage from Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. 3 similar suitcases passed through international departures in the past month. Different carriers, different flights, but all the same high-end brand. The room fell silent. Sarah felt Max shift at her feet, sensing the change in atmosphere. She thought about the precision of it all, the targeting, the technology, the timing. This wasn't just human trafficking, this was something else entirely. "I need authorization to expand our search," Sarah said, standing up. "Max can identify these cases now. We need to sweep every major building in the financial district, starting with 'That's not happening.'" The new voice cut through the room like ice. Assistant Director Thompson stood in the doorway, his suit as crisp as his tone. "This investigation is being transferred to a federal task force. They'll take it from here." Sarah felt her jaw tighten. "With all due respect, sir, Max is the only one who can detect these cases. We've got a proven method." "What we've got," Thompson interrupted, "is a local K9 unit overstepping its bounds. This is now an international trafficking investigation. It's beyond your pay grade, Officer Collins." Max stood up, sensing Sarah's tension. She placed a steadying hand on his shoulder, remembering their training. Stay calm, assess, adapt. "Sir," Detective Chen spoke up, "my sister is alive because of Officer Collins and Max. They're our best lead. This isn't up for discussion." Thompson's voice was final. "The feds arrive tomorrow. Until then, all evidence stays here. That includes the suitcase and all related files." After Thompson left, the room erupted in frustrated murmurs. Sarah stayed silent, watching Max. He had that look again, the one she'd seen in the elevator, the one that said he knew something everyone else was missing. "Collins." Richards approached her quietly. "Go home. Get some rest. That's an order." But as Sarah drove home through Atlanta's rain-slicked streets, Max alert in the back seat. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Thompson's interference was too quick, too decisive. And there was something else nagging at her, a detail from the evidence photos she couldn't quite place. Her phone buzzed, an encrypted message from Rivera. Found something in the suitcase's electronics. Serial numbers. These components, they're classified. Military grade. Sarah pulled into her driveway, her mind racing. Military components. International flights. A federal task force appearing out of nowhere. Inside her house, Max did his usual security sweep, a habit from their early days together, while Sarah spread the case photos she'd covertly copied across her dining room table. Something about the suitcase's construction had been bothering her. And now, look at this, Max. She pointed to a detail in the air filtration system. Max padded over, his nose almost touching the photo. See that logo? It's tiny, barely visible, but I know it. That's from Vertex Dynamics. Max's ears perked up at her tone. Vertex Dynamics, a defense contractor with offices right here in Atlanta. The same contractor that, according to her brother in the Air Force, had recently lost a classified government contract for personnel transport technology. Sarah's hands flew across her laptop keyboard, pulling up building records, security logs, anything she could access without raising flags. Vertex Dynamics occupied 3 floors in the Sovereign building, less than a mile from where they'd found Jennifer. They're not moving people out, she whispered, the realization hitting her. They're moving them around, right here in the city, using their own buildings as transit points. Max let out a low whine, the same one from the elevator. Sarah looked at her partner, seeing the same determination in his eyes that had first drawn her to him at the training center. Yeah, buddy. I know we're not supposed to. She reached for her tactical vest, but sometimes you have to break protocol to do what's right. The storm outside had intensified, rain hammering against the windows. Sarah checked her backup weapon, then her phone. If she was right, the federal task force Thompson mentioned wasn't coming to investigate the trafficking. They were coming to clean up Vertex's mess, which meant they had less than 12 hours to find the truth. Ready to break some rules, partner? Sarah asked, checking Max's tactical vest. He stood perfectly still, letting her adjust the straps, but his muscles were tense with anticipation, just like that day in the rain at the training center when they'd chosen to trust each other over protocol. As they headed out into the storm, Sarah's phone buzzed again. Rivera. Building security logs show power spikes in Vertex's sublevel. Same pattern as the suitcase's life support system. Active right now! Sarah started her car, Max already alert in the back. The city lights blurred through the rain-streaked windshield as they drove toward the Sovereign building. They were about to go up against a military contractor with no backup and no authorization. If they were wrong, it would end their careers. If they were right. Max's reflection caught her eye in the rearview mirror. In 5 years of partnership, he'd never steered her wrong. Not once. Okay, partner. Sarah pulled into a dark parking lot 2 blocks from their target. Let's go find out what they're really shipping in those suitcases. The rain masked their approach to the building's service entrance. As Sarah prepared their entry plan, she felt that familiar clarity that came with total trust in her partner. Whatever they found inside, whoever they found inside, she knew one thing for certain. This time, they weren't just solving a case. They were stopping something that was never meant to be discovered, and Max was the only one who could lead them to the truth. The service entrance's keypad yielded easily to Rivera's bypass code, but Sarah's heart still pounded as she and Max slipped inside the Sovereign building. The night security cameras were on a loop, another gift from their tech-savvy ally, but they had only 20 minutes before the system reset. Clear, Sarah whispered, unnecessarily. Max was already scanning the service corridor, his training taking over. The sub-level access required special clearance, but Sarah had studied the building plans. There was always a maintenance route. Her radio crackled softly. Collins, you're making a mistake. Lieutenant Richards' voice was tight with concern. Thompson's asking questions. He knows something's up. Can't stop now, sir. Sarah guided Max toward a maintenance shaft. We've got activity readings from sub-level 3. Multiple signatures. Sarah. Richards rarely used her first name. If you're wrong about this, and if I'm right. She paused at the shaft entrance. How many more Jennifers are down there? How many more shipments before someone else catches on? The radio went silent for a moment, then, you've got 30 minutes. After that, I report everything. Sarah clicked her acknowledgement and pocketed the radio. Max was already focused on the shaft's ladder, his training kicking in. They'd practiced this, accessing tight spaces, maintaining stealth, but this was different. This was real. The maintenance shaft descended past 2 sub-levels before opening onto their target floor. The air grew noticeably cooler, with an artificial quality that reminded Sarah of the modified Suitcase. Max's ears pricked forward, his body language shifting subtly. "You smell it too, don't you?" Sarah whispered. That same chemical sweetness from the elevator, but stronger now. They moved silently through the dimly lit corridor. Unlike the corporate polish of the upper floors, this level felt clinical, industrial. The walls were bare concrete, the floors epoxy-coated. Perfect for cleaning up messes, Sarah thought grimly. Max stopped suddenly, his posture rigid. Ahead, a heavy security door blocked their path, but it wasn't what had caught his attention. He turned toward what looked like a standard ventilation grate, letting out that specific whine Sarah had come to recognize. Someone's behind there? Sarah knelt beside him, studying the grate. It was larger than standard size, and the screws. These have been removed and replaced recently. She pulled out her phone, sending a quick message to Rivera. Need blueprints for sub-level ventilation system. The response came seconds later. No official plans filed. Systems completely off books. Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the basement air. An unofficial ventilation system, large enough for... She pushed the thought away, focusing on the grate. The screws came loose easily. The space behind was dark, but Sarah's flashlight revealed what looked like a maintenance tunnel, far larger than any ventilation shaft should be. Max's whine grew more urgent. Okay, buddy. Sarah checked her watch. 20 minutes left. Show me. They crawled through the tunnel, Max leading confidently despite the tight space. The chemical smell grew stronger, and Sarah could hear a faint mechanical hum. After about 50 feet, the tunnel opened into what looked like a control room. Sarah's breath caught. The walls were lined with monitors showing various buildings across Atlanta, including the Peachtree Plaza. But it was the center of the room that held her attention. 3 more Rimowa suitcases, modified just like Jennifer's, connected to what looked like charging stations. Max moved immediately to the nearest case, displaying the same urgent behavior from the elevator. Sarah's hands shook slightly as she examined the case's digital readout. Vital signs, active life support. Oh God! She reached for her phone, but movement on one of the monitors caught her eye. In the corridor they'd just left, figures in tactical gear were moving with military precision. Collins! Richard's voice burst from her radio. Thompson's mobilized a team. Get out of there now. But Max wasn't moving. His focus remained locked on the suitcase, and Sarah knew why. Someone was in there. Someone was alive in there right now. The door to the control room burst open. Sarah had just enough time to duck behind a server bank, pulling Max with her as boots thundered in. Sweep the room, a familiar voice ordered. Assistant Director Thompson. Find them! Sarah's mind raced. They were trapped, with armed men between them and the exit. And even if they could escape, it would mean leaving whoever was in those suitcases behind. Max pressed against her leg, and she felt his muscles coiled tight, ready. They'd trained for situations like this, building searches, hostile suspects, but they'd always had backup, always had the law on their side. A beam from a tactical light swept past their hiding spot. Sarah counted footsteps, at least 6 men, moving in standard search pattern. Thompson was still by the door, issuing orders quietly. Sir! One of the men called out. Life support systems are stable. Transport's still on schedule. Good. Thompson's voice was cold. Once we find Collins and her dog, we can proceed with cleanup. Can't have any loose ends. Sarah felt something shift inside her at those words. This wasn't just about stopping a trafficking operation anymore. This was about survival. She looked at Max, saw the same determination in his eyes that had been there on their first day together. They had one advantage. Nobody knew this building's layout better than them after weeks of investigation. And nobody expected a K9 officer to think like a tactical operator. Sarah reached into her vest pocket, feeling the flashbang grenade she'd borrowed from the SWAT locker. Against protocol, yes, but something had told her they'd need it. The search team was moving closer, their lights sweeping methodically. Sarah caught glimpses of their gear, definitely military, not police. These were professional cleaners. Max tensed beside her, ready for her signal. In the 5 years they'd worked together, they'd developed a language of subtle gestures and touches. Right now, his body language told her everything. He trusted her plan, whatever it was. Sarah's hand tightened on the grenade pin. They had one shot at this. If they failed, they'd not only die, they'd never be able to expose what was happening here. "Check behind the servers," Thompson ordered. Sarah took a deep breath. Sometimes, she thought, you have to break protocol to do what's right. She squeezed Max's shoulder, their signal for ready, and prepared to move. Whatever happened next would change everything. But one thing was certain, they weren't going down without a fight, and they weren't leaving anyone behind. The flashbang detonated with a thunderous crack, filling the control room with blinding light. Sarah moved the instant it went off, Maxwell tight against her leg, exactly as they'd practiced countless times. But this wasn't training anymore. This was survival. "K9, get down!" Sarah's voice carried the full authority of her badge as she emerged from cover, weapon drawn. The tactical team was still disoriented, some clutching their ears, others blinking against the after images. Max launched forward on her command, taking down the nearest operator with practiced precision. Thompson's voice cut through the chaos. "Take them down! Now!" Sarah dove behind a control panel as bullets sparked off metal around her. Max had already disabled a second operator and was moving like a shadow through the strobing emergency lights. Their countless training hours were paying off. In close quarters, a well-trained K9 could be more effective than any human operator. "Rivera!" Sarah shouted into her radio as she returned fire, forcing the remaining operators to cover. "Kill the lights! Now!" The control room plunged into darkness, broken only by muzzle flashes and the glow of monitor screens. Sarah heard Thompson cursing, followed by the sound of a door slamming. He was running. "Max, find!" The command was unnecessary. Her partner was already in pursuit, leading the way through the darkness. Sarah followed, trusting his night vision and training. Behind them, she heard the tactical team regrouping, calling for backup. They emerged into a secondary corridor. Sarah hadn't seen on any blueprints. Emergency lighting cast everything in a red glow, making the chemical fog hanging in the air look like blood mist. Max's pace quickened, and Sarah heard it too, the sound of machinery ahead, growing louder. They burst through another set of doors into what looked like a loading dock, but unlike any Sarah had seen before. The ceiling was lined with medical equipment, and along one wall stood a row of what looked like cryo-storage units. In the center of the room, Thompson was frantically working at a control panel. "Stop right there!" Sarah's voice echoed off the concrete walls. "Hands where I can see them!" Thompson turned slowly, and Sarah was struck by how calm he looked. "Officer Collins, I have to admit, you've impressed me. Nobody's ever gotten this close." "Close to what?" Sarah kept her weapon trained on him, while Max circled to cut off his escape. "What are you really doing here?" "Progress, Officer Collins, evolution." Thompson's smile was cold. "Did you think those suitcases were just for human trafficking? That technology, the life support systems, the neural monitors, it's not for keeping people alive. It's for keeping them intact." A chill ran down Sarah's spine as the implications hit her. The military-grade components, the classified contracts, the international shipments. You're not selling people. You're selling their bodies. Their enhanced bodies, Thompson corrected. Vertex Dynamics lost its military contracts because our methods were deemed unethical, but there are always buyers who understand the need for progress. Countries, organizations, private collectors, all willing to pay for perfectly preserved human specimens enhanced with our proprietary technology. Max's growl deepened, and Sarah felt the same disgust rising in her throat. The disappearances, the high-end targets, test subjects, Thompson shrugged. Healthy, successful individuals with the right genetic profiles. The suitcases keep them in perfect stasis while the enhancements take hold. By the time they reach their destinations, they're something more than human, or they're supposed to be. He glanced at one of the monitors. Jennifer Chen was a failure. The neural graphs didn't take. We were disposing of her when your dog complicated things. Sarah's finger tightened on the trigger. You're harvesting people for parts. We're advancing human evolution. Thompson's composure cracked slightly. Every breakthrough has its cost. The military understood that before the politicians interfered. But our private clients, his hand moved slightly toward the control panel. They understand the value of sacrifice. Don't! Sarah's voice was steel. But Thompson was already moving, slapping a button on the panel. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Behind them, the storage units began to hiss, releasing clouds of pressurized gas. Max barked a warning as shapes began to move in the fog. Human shapes, but wrong somehow, enhanced. You should see this as an opportunity, Officer Collins. Thompson's voice was almost lost in the chaos of alarms and escaping gas. Your dog's abilities, your intuition, you'd make perfect candidates for the program. The shapes in the fog were becoming clearer now. People, but not people anymore. Their movements were too fluid, their eyes too bright. Sarah counted at least 6 of them, all wearing the same blank expression. "Max, hold!" Sarah commanded, even as her partner's muscles tensed for action. They were surrounded, cut off from the exit, with Thompson still smiling at his control panel. "The neural controls aren't perfect yet," he admitted, watching his enhanced subjects move closer. They're stronger, faster, but the personality suppression needs work. Still, they follow basic commands, like kill. The enhanced subjects moved as one, closing in with inhuman grace. Sarah had seconds to make a decision. Standard tactics wouldn't work against enhanced humans. But then she saw Max's ears prick forward, his attention shifting to something above them. The sprinkler system, of course. "Rivera!" Sarah shouted into her radio. "The fire suppression system, now!" Chemical foam burst from the ceiling sprinklers, filling the room with thick, white suppressant. The enhanced subjects faltered, their movements becoming erratic as their visual tracking was disrupted. "Max, clear!" The command sent her partner into action. While the foam confused the enhanced subjects, Max could still track by scent and sound. Sarah heard the impacts as he took them down one by one, using their enhanced strength against them on the slippery floor. Thompson was shouting something, but Sarah was already moving. Through the foam, she saw him reaching for what looked like a weapon. She fired twice, not to kill, but to disable. Thompson went down, clutching his shoulder, the control panel sparking from a stray round. The room's electronics began to short out, sending cascades of sparks through the foam. Emergency shutters started to descend, and Sarah heard the distant sound of real sirens approaching. "Lieutenant Richards," she called into her radio, "we need full tactical response at the Sovereign Building sublevel. Multiple suspects down, possible human experimentation victims in need of medical attention." "Already incoming," Richards replied. "SWAT's 2 minutes out. FBI's been notified, the real FBI this time." Sarah moved to secure Thompson, while Max continued to guard the downed enhanced subjects. Through the settling foam, she could see their features becoming more human as whatever control system Thompson had used began to fail. "You don't understand what you've done," Thompson growled as she cuffed him. "The program, the buyers." "Oh, I understand," Sarah cut him off. "And so will a federal grand jury." She looked at Max, who had returned to her side, alert but calm. "My partner made sure of that." The sound of boots on stairs echoed through the facility as SWAT teams approached. Sarah took a moment to scratch behind Max's ears, feeling the familiar texture of his fur through her foam-covered gloves. "Good boy," she whispered. "You found them all." As tactical teams secured the scene and medical units began arriving, Sarah watched them carefully extracting victims from the modified suitcases. Each one would need extensive care, but they were alive. They would have a chance to return to their families, to be human again. Max sat at attention beside her, both of them covered in chemical foam, but unshaken. They'd broken protocol, risked their careers, and faced down things that shouldn't exist outside of science fiction. But they'd done it together, trusting each other when the world stopped making sense. Sarah's phone buzzed, a message from Rivera. Security footage uploaded to FBI servers. Thompson's whole network is about to come down. She smiled, watching the sunrise through the loading dock's high windows. Sometimes trust and instinct were better than any protocol. Sometimes you had to break the rules to serve justice. And sometimes the best partner you could ask for had 4 legs and an unwavering heart. 2 weeks after the raid on Vertex Dynamics, Sarah stood at the back of the Atlanta Police Department's press conference room, Max sitting attentively at her side. Chief Harrison was addressing a sea of reporters, describing what was being called one of the largest human trafficking and illegal experimentation cases in FBI history. "Thanks to the exceptional work of our K9 unit," Harrison was saying, "we've identified similar operations in 3 other cities. Federal agencies are moving on those locations as we speak." Sarah barely heard the rest. Her attention was on Jennifer Chen, sitting in the front row beside her brother. The young woman was still pale, still recovering, but her eyes were clear and alert. When she'd asked to meet Max a few days after her rescue, she'd hugged the dog for nearly 10 minutes, whispering, "Thank you," over and over. "Officer Collins?" A soft voice drew her attention. Dr. Martinez, the neurologist who'd been treating the victims, stood beside her with a tablet. "I thought you'd want to see this." The latest scans from the enhanced subjects. Sarah studied the images, Max peering at the screen with equal interest. The neural modifications were slowly breaking down, leaving the victims' brains to heal naturally. "They'll recover?" "Largely, yes." Martinez smiled. "Whatever Thompson's team did, it wasn't permanent, without constant reinforcement from their control system. The human brain is remarkably resilient." The press conference was wrapping up. Sarah watched as Jennifer stood, supported by Detective Chen, and made her way through the crowd toward them. Max's tail wagged gently. He'd grown protective of all the survivors, but Jennifer was special, Sarah. Jennifer's voice was stronger now. "I wanted you to know, I'm going to testify. Against Thompson, against all of them. The FBI says my statement could help shut down similar operations worldwide." Sarah nodded, feeling Max lean slightly against Jennifer's leg in support. "Are you sure you're ready for that?" "I have to be." Jennifer's chin lifted. "What they did to us, what they were planning to do. Someone has to speak for those who can't." Behind them, the press room was emptying. Lieutenant Richards approached, looking more relaxed than Sarah had seen him in weeks. "Collins, got a minute?" Sarah followed him to his office, Max padding silently beside her. The space had changed since their last visit. New case files covered his desk, and a map on the wall showed locations of suspected Vertex operations across the globe. "The FBI's creating a special task force," Richard said, without preamble, "specifically for tracking down these enhanced trafficking operations. They want you and Max to lead the K9 division." Sarah felt her breath catch. "Sir, you'd be training other handlers, other dogs, to detect what Max can detect. Building an entire unit around your methods." He smiled slightly. "Breaking protocol to get results." Max's ears perked up at the change in Sarah's posture. She looked down at her partner, remembering that rainy day at the training center when everyone else had given up on him. "What do you think, buddy? Ready to teach others what you know?" The soft whine he gave was familiar. Not an alert, but an affirmation. Sarah turned back to Richards. "When do we start?" "There's something else first." Richards handed her a folder. "Remember those international flights Thompson's operation was using? Turns out one of their biggest transit points is an abandoned medical facility outside Boston. FBI wants you up there next week to assess the situation. Sarah opened the folder, studying the building plans. Already, she could see potential entry points, optimal search patterns. Max leaned against her leg, studying the documents with equal intensity. "One condition," Richards added. "You do this by the book. Well, your book. The one you and Max have been writing without realizing it." Later that evening, Sarah sat on her back porch, watching Max patrol the yard in the fading light. Her phone buzzed with a message from Rivera. More data recovered from Vertex's servers, more leads to follow. The work was far from over. Jennifer had asked her earlier why Max had alerted on that first suitcase. What made him different from other K9s? Sarah hadn't had a perfect answer. Some dogs just saw deeper, sensed things others missed. And some handlers learned to trust that, to build their methods around that unique perception. Max finished his patrol and came to sit beside her chair, resting his head on her knee. Sarah ran her fingers through his fur, feeling the solid warmth of him. Tomorrow, they would start preparing for Boston, for the next case, the next rescue. They would train others to do what they did, to trust their instincts, to see what others missed. But tonight, in the quiet of her backyard, Sarah simply sat with her partner. The moon rose over Atlanta's skyline, casting long shadows across the grass. Somewhere in the city, Jennifer Chen was home with her family. Other survivors were beginning to heal, to reclaim their humanity. And across the country, other dogs and handlers would soon learn to work the way she and Max did, turning their unique bond into a force for justice. "Good boy," Sarah whispered, feeling Max's steady breathing against her leg. "Good boy." The night air was cool and clear, carrying the promise of autumn. Sarah thought about all the cases ahead of them, all the lives yet to be saved. But for now, this moment was enough. Sitting in comfortable silence with her partner, two guardians watching over their city. They had started as a rookie handler and a washout K9, two misfits who saw the world differently. They had become something more, not through enhancement or modification, but through trust, instinct, and unwavering loyalty. Max's ears twitched at a distant sound, but he remained relaxed. No alerts, no threats, just the normal rhythm of their city at night. Sarah smiled, remembering what she'd told Thompson in that basement facility. Sometimes trust and instinct were better than any protocol. Her phone buzzed again. The Boston operation was being moved up. They'd leave in 3 days. Sarah felt that familiar surge of anticipation, saw it mirrored in Max's alert posture. They were ready. Let others chase glory or headlines. She and Max would do what they'd always done, follow the unseen trails, trust their instincts, and bring light to the darkest corners of human nature. Silent heroes, walking their own path, guided by a bond that no science could enhance and no evil could break. The night deepened around them, but neither Sarah nor Max moved from their vigil. They had found their purpose, their place in the world. And together, they would keep fighting, keep searching, keep protecting, one case, one rescue, one life at a time. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new mysteries, new chances to prove that sometimes the strongest weapons against evil were a pure heart, an unwavering spirit, and the simple, powerful trust between a handler and her dog. But tonight, they rested. Tonight, they were simply partners, guardians, friends, and that was everything they needed to be.